I'm Rainuka Dagar, Director of Gender Studies in Institute for Development and Communication, Chandigarh, India. I'm also Program Director of the Alters Global Alliance, and I'm visiting professor at the School of Public Policy in CEU, and I'm taking a class on global challenges to gender, practice, policy, and rights. The course I'm teaching aims at not producing gender specialists, creating gender specialists, but more on creating minds that are sensitive to gender issues. And this is important or useful for policy students who may not be really working on core gender issues, but having some sort of conversancy in gender issues, because even though you may not be working on gender, you consider yourself to be gender neutral in policy or intervention or as a NGO or activist, because gender is so woven into our social relations, into our practice of day-to-day living, that it colors the outcomes. So if you have some kind of sensitivities, if you're aware of the gender analysis, what are the major debates in policy and what are the stakes for gender, then one is more attuned to the hierarchies, more attuned to addressing populations that are vulnerable, and to ensure that they don't get further marginalized by any kind of intervention that practitioners will be undertaking. As you're aware, rights are a very contentious issue, because are they individual rights or are they collective claims? Are you going to talk about global standards? Are those the same for the separate cultural specificities? For instance, are they applicable in South Asia or in African communities, where rights and capacities and issues may be very different? The idea is to make students conversant with issues of the different paradoxes or the tensions between policy and practice, between law, the constitution, and the practice of social order or the executive authority. So these are some of the terrains that are visited during this course. I think one of the important issues that this course debates is what exactly gender means, because gender is not necessarily, or not what is very popularly understood, that it's a female issue, that it's related to do with women's development. That's initially how the women's studies and the gender issues started out. But by now we do know that it's not just women, or it is more to do with roles and your social positioning. So when we are talking about gender, it's not just male, female, and if it were only actor based, then you'll miss out the whole debates and the discourse on the gay rights. So you don't have those issues, those rights are not even in the frame of a male-female kind of a dialogue. So when we talk about gender, it is this larger domain that we are referring to, which has implications for both men and women, but again, not as numbers, that male and female, not as actors, but as processes. So you talk about concepts such as shame, honor, revenge, protection. You have practices of male child preference. You may have female genital mutilation. These are different forms of violence which are practiced and mostly targeted for women, but it's not necessarily that women are the only victims.